Hello and welcome to my channel. Today is another Brother Canvas Workspace tutorial and it's all about image tracing. So if you would like to learn how image tracing could enhance your Brother Canvas Workspace experience, then stick with me and I'll show you how. I'm using the download version of Canvas Workspace, but this project can also be completed using the online version because both of them have the trace function available, and that's what we're going to be using today to acquire the images for the Gingerbread House mini album. We could, of course, draw our own gingerbread house, but instead we're going to use an actual file that we can trace and bring in to Canvas and then edit it. So the first thing to do is to go to the trace icon here, image tracing. So you see this rose here, it's being traced, and then you bring that into your workspace. So click on there, and this is where you will bring the image into your program. So it could be in your computer, or it could be an image that you've already scanned into your machine. In this case, it's a file, and it's actually a PNG file that is in my on my laptop. As you can see, there are limitations when you go to use this image tracing. It can't be a huge file, so it can't be more than 5 megabytes, for example. It needs to be at least 300 pixels because it's got to be able to pick out the edges of the image successfully in order to bring them in and have them be converted into cutting files. As it says, some cutting lines could be too small, so in some cases you may just need to eliminate those altogether, and just some will not trace well. It's just the nature of the beast. But for today's purpose, we've got a file that actually will trace very nicely. And I'm going to bring that into the Canvas Workspace now. And it's in my Pixabay folder. And it's a gingerbread house. That is this one here. So when I open it, you see there is the gingerbread house. Now, as you can see, the trace at the moment is only on the outer edges. Right? So we have options here. The other choice is to trace it by color. And you can go up to 20 different colors. So when I click on here, you'll see this sort of aqua trace line changes, and now it's picked up all the other elements within that image, so it's traced around them. Now you also see here that you can paste the image on the drawing area. Now normally I wouldn't usually do this, but in this case we're going to do that so I can show you how that works. And you can also include the background outline. It's just going to depend on, what kind of image you're bringing in. In this case, we don't want any outline on here. So, we've got the size of this image. As you can see, it's a rather large image right now, which would be much too big for us to cut. And anyway, we're going to edit this and bring it down to the size that we want for our mini album. So click OK, and you'll see it's brought the gingerbread house onto the mat. Now at this moment it's a grouped file, and that's why that image is able to be brought in. So it actually has attached to the back of it, you could see here, you can see the trace behind here of the original image. So this is just so you have a reference if you're trying to make sure that you comply with it, the exact, if you wanted the exact same design, for example. But you can change it however you like. But if you want to see what the original file looks like, you can just bring it in like that. And so now what you need to do, of course, is to ungroup it. So just zoom out of here. And we'll go to our layer function and ungroup this. Now you will see we have the outline, which is the section that we really want. We've also got our original image, and then we have all the pieces that have been punched through. Now some of these we're going to be keeping, like the windows, for example, and some of the other images we might want to also use for maybe some paper piecing or somewhere else within the album. But we can get rid of anything that we don't need, like this. So that would just be a matter of deleting that. Delete that one as well. We can go down here and we can delete all of that. Again, there's a little bit over here we don't need. So what I am going to do is just group those together so I can set them aside and use them later. Now, as I said, this is what we're interested in. And the first thing I'm going to do is to resize this. So I'm going to keep the aspect ratio clicked so that it maintains that width and height according to the original version. And I'm going to, I can actually drag it, or I can give it a value here that I've already decided on. So I want 7 3/4 of an inch in height, and the width is 6.81. Now, if I give it a little bit of color, you can see it a little better. I'll give it a gingerbread color, shall we? And I'm also going to take the line color out. So there is our gingerbread house. Okay, that is our starting point. The next thing is we need to have another copy of this. Now, we could go through this and try and remove all of these pieces in here, either by bringing another shape over it and welding it, or using the node motion, the node function, and take out these individual pieces. But a much faster way to do it is this. Go to offset, and in this case I'm going to make an outward offset and bring it down to the lowest value, 0.04. I'll just leave it rounded and I'll click OK. So now I have another gingerbread house shape, but of course it is a little bit bigger because we've actually gone around the shape. So I'm going to need to resize this, and I'm going to resize this back down to 7¾ of an inch. So now, if you were to align these together, we can place this one at the back. It fits right over top of it. So what we have here are the covers, but these are the I guess you could call them the mats for the covers, and they are going to be cut out of our paper or cardstock, whichever we choose, and then they'll be attached to the actual mini album frame. So for the mini album, we need more gingerbread houses. So that means we need to make another copy of this one, the solid one. And we'll just place those aside. And this one is going to be altered further by making a spine we can punch holes in and then attach the pages to. So the way I'm going to do that is, let me just bring it over here. I'll just get these out of the way. And I want to make this slightly larger than this. So you can see it's 7¾ I'm going to offset it again by offset it by 0.04. All right, and there is our album front and back, actually. So we can actually just delete this one for now, because this is the one we'll be working with. This is the one we need to add a spine to. So just going to go in here with a square. And you'll see now the size of this is 7.83. So it is slightly bigger. If you could have it even bigger, if you wanted, we could, let's see, if we wanted it, let's just bring this in and see if we, this is the 7¾ and offset that. Offset that by, say, 8. Then that is going to give us a little bit bigger. So it's nearly 8 inches. So I think that one actually might be a little better. So we'll just get rid of that one. So we'll stick with this one here. So back to the spine. And if I line this up on the 1 inch, if I go over to the artboard and the grid spacing, I could bring that down to 1/2 inch so I can see about what I need for my spine. So I could have that at, say, 1 inch, thereabouts. And I'm going to align this so it aligns to the bottom. then I can go here and see, do I need to extend this? I think I will extend it just a little bit there. And I can see also that it is already overlapping a bit. So I can weld that now. Oops. To weld that. And we have our new shape. Now you'll see here when I come to the bottom, because of the difference in the original shape and then that addition of the spine, we've got this sort of strange thing here. So we can easily get rid of that by going into the path editing tools where the nodes are, and that's done just by double clicking, and you'll see here, if you highlight a node, it will turn blue, and then you can delete those. So we'll delete that one, delete that one. We can delete these, and we can also get rid of these as well. We could even get rid of that one there, because it's going to go straight across now. So if I come out here and show you, we now have a straight corner here. And this is where our holes will go for the album. For that, we're going to need some circles. So we'll bring in our circle, and let's bring it down to about 0.17. That should be enough, I think. So we need 3 of these. We're going to have, or you could have 4 if you want, but I'm just going to have 3 of these. So I'm going to duplicate them. And then what I can do is just highlight all 3, line them up to the left, and then distribute them. Now, they're going to go within this area here. So I need to think about where I want them. I go to the artboard again and change it to 1/4 of an inch. You can see that. So I can just bring that around. And that should be about right. So again, I'll highlight these 3 circles. And then we'll distribute them. Now, I think it's on the default already of 1 inch, but I don't think that's going to be enough. So I'm going to add a little more spacing and try 1 1/4 inches. Then I will hit the vertical distribute space, and we'll take a look and see how that looks. And if I group that so I can keep it all together. I can see that that's not too bad. That should space those out very nicely. Okay, so that is ready to then be punched through. Now you could divide it if you wanted, but in this case we're just going to subtract, and that means these holes are now punched through. So if I go back and give it some more color again, you'll see that we have those holes in place. So that's where our pages will go. So we need another copy of this. So we'll make a duplicate of this, which is going to be for our front and back covers. Then we need to have the pages as well. So that means we'll need to reduce this. I'm just going to change my grid back to 1 inch. So we need to make the inner pages, and then we can print out or cut out as many of those as we need. So the way to do that then is going to be to go back to the offset, and this time we're going to come inward, and let's try 8. I think that one's a little too much, so I'm just going to go back. I'm going to offset it at 4. I think that's going to be better. So let's give it a color. Very bright green. And we'll click on subtract, and our holes are in place. So that when we start to put this together, this is going to be the back cover. Well, actually, this is going to be at the very back. We're going to be working with this in just a moment. That's going to be at the very back because it's going to be covering this. Then we'll have our pages. Then we'll have our front cover. So bring that to the front. And then finally, the decorative part of the gingerbread house, which also needs to come to the front. So when we highlight all of these together and we align them horizontally and vertically, they match up very nicely. So we've got our spine, and this is going to fit over like that. So we can make that one maybe a little darker. See the difference? And we also have those other pieces, remember? These pieces over here that we can also fit into there, like the windows, for example. Or if we wanted to add in some of the other decorative pieces, we have those available. So we can cut those out of different color pieces. let's go back to the house and we'll work on these two pieces. Now, remember, these are the same size. Okay. This one is the back, and if you want to add some extra bits to this, what you could do, what I'm going to do at least, is I'm going to go over here and group these, and I'm going to find some windows here. I'm just going to plop them somewhere and give them some color. Send that to the back. That one also some more color. I think what I'll do is just group these. And then I can align them centrally, and then I can just use the subtract process overlap. Oops. That got caught up there. We don't want that. Want this out of the way. And there we go. And then we could bring in the window frames. Got these over here. Give that some color. Give it a nice red. And just reduce it in size. Bring it to the front. And then you can just play with it till we get it about where we want it. Because this is a crooked house, it does not have to be perfect. And then we would cut this out of whatever color cardstock we want for the window frames. And then we can paper piece those over top of the openings. And we'll do the same for our main house, the front of the house. We've got this, which is going to fit over top of these window frames. So you can color that in, and then again just adjust it like so. And then all these pieces we could also bring in. So if you wanted to have quite a colorful house, you could bring in this and just resize it. Now what you could have done, and probably what I should have done, was just to reduce all of these at the same time so that I wouldn't even have to do this, but this is quite easy really to resize, as you can see. And that can be pieced either behind this piece or over to the top of it as well. And you've got all the little snowflakes and all the other little icing around the gingerbread house. So it is nearly ready. So let's, first of all, we can get rid of this. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to cut or anything like that. So we can just get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. We've got all our pieces here. And as we're in Canvas Workspace, the download version, it will save it even if you have bits and pieces outside of the cutting area. So I could save that as, let's give it a name, Gingerbread. Mini album. And then we have it available to export it as we need to. And in a moment, I'll show you another little trick that you can do. I'm going to show you a neat little trick for if you want to send this to your machine or you want to download it onto, say, a USB stick. Then a really fast way, let's say you only want to actually work with these two pieces now. What I would do is you can move those out of the way and you can actually group those. Let's take all these other pieces. We don't have to worry about setting them all up. Take this one, and we'll group that. And what you could do is go ahead and group all these other pieces. I'll go over to your layers page and you'll see all these various shapes here are under this group, because if I turn the eye off on that, it disappears, or if I turn the eye off on the whole group, it completely disappears. That means this is the only shape remaining, and it's in a group at the moment. So we want to ungroup this, because when we send it to the machine, if it's grouped, it can't be ungrouped once it gets there. But now we can easily fit that in within the red bounding line, and we can export it. So we can export it or send it to our machine. And we get a warning here. The objects that have been set as hidden are no longer available to export or transfer. Okay? We can just say OK, and I'll send that to the machine for cutting. And then I can just come back here to my layers and bring those shapes back on. Then I can make sure that I update this, and I can save it. And so when I close it and bring it back in again, all those pieces are still there. And then I could do the same again I could see, well, I don't want to have those go to my machine now. I can have those. Or you could export it to a file. So it's a nice, quick way to pick and choose what you would like to export or to transfer. So, the thing now to do is going to be to send all these individual pieces over to the machine. I'll probably just put them on a USB, take them to the machine, and cut them out. Cut out the pieces for the album, including some decorative pieces, and I decided to make another piece that matched the front so that I could have that as, use this as my overlay and have that coming through, plus I'll also be decorating that. Then this is going to go onto my cardstock. Now this is very heavy cardstock, so that is going to go like that. And as you can see, there was such a narrow border here, I had to make sure that I gave it plenty of strength onto the side there. So that's why I've made that little spine there. Then we have, of course, our pages. I've only cut one out for now. We'll get some more later. And that's going to go in there. Then we have, of course, our back piece, as well as this that's going to go onto the back as well. Right, so I can put these down now, starting with the front mat. Right, so those are done, and I've just changed it up a little bit from the front side, but it still looks like it's not out of place, really. Cut out 4 more pages, and I'm going to go ahead and just remove that one that's in there, so that I can work on them completely flat, rather than
having them inside of the album. So just take those little rings out for now. And we can set all this aside and just leave the pages out for the moment. I've done some decorating of this Gingerbread mini album, but of course the focus of this tutorial really was the use of the image tracing function of Brother's Canvas Workspace and how you can use that to come up with a project just like this. But we'll take a look at it anyway. I've kept it rather simple. I consider it more or less a work in progress, just like you might, and so I can take my time with it. I don't have to do it all in one sitting, and I can actually change things out as I go along. And because it's held together with these book rings, or might want to use ribbon, as I said before, instead of book rings, you can change it year after year as well. So here we have a cool Yule, and inside we carry on with our gingerbread theme. We've got a little gingerbread man. I've got a little pocket here with some tags. And these could be used for journaling as well as gift tags. I made these on my ScanNCut a few years ago. Well, probably 2 years ago. And they're quite easy to make. I've got some photo mounts here for not only photographs, but perhaps, you know, some sort of memorabilia. Got a little pocket here. And another photo mount. Another photo mount. Another little tuck pocket here. And another photo mount. Then I've got some cards here, which could be photo mounts, or used for journaling, or whatever you like. And a little tag here that I've made and turned it into an actual little pocket instead. So these could just tuck right in there. And then on the back page, we have one of the hidden paper clips. So that just clips right on to that edge there, and then you can hold something like this, for example, like that, and it would just hold it in place for you. And there it is on the other side, and there's another little tuck pocket underneath there, and then another pocket at the back. And of course, as I said, you could add whatever else you want onto these pages. And then of course on the back we have the rear of the gingerbread house. I hope to be back very soon with more crafting goodness. So in the meantime, please stay safe and crafty hugs. Bye.